watching this after the fact, what I'm doing is I've made some adjustments to the lighting on my setup because it seemed like more people saw it to be too dark than people saw it to be just right. So this is a new attempt to see if it's not too dark. And I guess I better go back to Dalaran to demonstrate the same places that I was in before. So we're going to do that. So this is really the main point of this, is to just show this to see how it works, if it's better, and then to talk about at least one topic that I wanted to go over to continue some of my commentary on Battle for Azeroth. So let's head over here to the same place where I was. And let's go look. Remember this corner? Remember this candle? Remember this corner? And these here? Yeah. So that'll be very telling. So all you dudes that said it's too dark, let me know how it looks now, because the last thing I want is for people to be frustrated watching the video. And yeah. So a couple of people had mentioned that they've looked at it on different screens. I've looked at my own videos and broadcasts on 5 different screens. Two of them are different monitors on my computer, and then the other 3, one of them is my phone, and then there's 2 different screens, 2 different televisions I've looked at it on. So it looked pretty consistent across those to me, but it may simply be the way that I dial in the settings on screens in my house. So I'd like to hear feedback from other people to get a clearer idea. So that this just isn't a simply technical broadcast, I wanted to talk about one thing that I didn't actually get around to talking about when I was making my longer stream. And I'll get to that, but I'd like to point out that I will be trying to stream as often as I can, but because of my really full life, I guess that sounds really conceited to say it that way, but because I have a lot going on, it's not going to be very often, but I will try and do longer streams on the weekends. And as it gets to be something that that isn't such an experimental thing and becomes more regular, I imagine I'll be able to get a lot more done, or to work out my schedule so that I can do longer amounts of time in one go and discuss things. So we'll see how it goes. Again, the most helpful thing that you can do is leave comments of what kind of things you want to see. Whether it's you want to see never queue up for random whatever. I mean, I'm happy to do that. So we'll see what we get. But more comments always helps, because then I know what specific things to focus on. So the thing I wanted to talk about for Battle for Azeroth that I didn't get around to was, if you remember, I ran across one of those. It was in Pandaria, so I guess I'll just head there real quick. It was in Pandaria. I ran across one of those Zandalari War Scouts. And so I wanted to talk about the Zandalari trolls real quick. First of all, when I first saw Zandalari trolls, I thought, okay, la-di-da, trolls. Oh, hey, look, they stand up straight. That's pretty neat. I've never been a huge fan of trolls, just for my own personal preference, but I've always thought that they were a nice thing to add to the game, and I really enjoyed the way that Blizzard portrays their trolls, because they're not just ugly things that live under bridges. They're kind of a primitive precursor to all other races. They're not all of them, but a lot of them. I mean, really, what are elves? They're really just kind of de-evolved trolls, if you ask a troll, or they're improved trolls, and we don't like to talk about those ancestors if you ask an elf. So the Zandalari trolls, standing up straight trolls, and so that's kind of neat. And I didn't really think about it for very long because I was excited about the other races a little more. And then they announced that they could be druids, and I thought, oh, that's really interesting. And then I found out that none of the other races... Oh, there's another one. Look at that. Where is he? Nobody farms these anymore, and I don't really need them because I've got the rep, but check this dude out. This is what I'm talking about right here. This is a Zandalari troll, and this is very similar to what Battle for Azeroth is going to have, because they already did a ton of development on this model when they were building Throne of Thunder. And in fact, this uses the Night Elf skeleton with a pretty significant amount of different and new animations to go along with it. So it's more dissimilar from its base race, which is the Night Elf race, than any other allied race we've seen in detail so far. The dwarves are almost identical. The Nightborn, the only difference between Nightborn and Night Elves are just the basic skin appearance, the shape of the ears, and some of the idle animations, and a tiny, tiny bit of some of the other movement animations. But the rest of it's identical to Night Elves. And so these guys are really something different, something special. Void Elves and Blood Elves are, as far as I've been able to detect, virtually indistinguishable in everything except for skin and hairstyle. So the reason I'm bringing up Zandalari Trolls is that my intention, as soon as I'm able to in the game, is to actually make the plunge and race change to a Zandalari Troll as soon as I can unlock them. And I wanted to announce this really early on to get people's thoughts about it. Now, it's not something I have up in the air. I'm very solidly planning to do this, and that's because it's a druid on the Horde side with good posture. And that's important to me, as I pointed out the last time we were running around Karasang Wilds and looking at skeletons. So that's the big... this guy drops them now, so might as well find out. That's the big thing I wanted to talk about, is my thoughts on the Zandalari Trolls, specifically a race-changing one, because that is something I intend to do. Oh, that's just that panda. So, for any of you listening or watching after the fact, are you planning on race-changing to an announced allied race, or even a very highly speculated one? If so, what things attract you to that race? What was your race before? And how do you think the game will feel different? Because I can say that the game felt a lot different for me when I was playing my rogue, being an undead, as opposed to being a Tauren. Being a Tauren, I find that, I don't know, the character I'm playing affects my attitude and the way that I approach the game in some ways. And so as a Tauren, I feel a lot more whimsical and maybe a little more silly, maybe a little more stubborn. As an undead, I feel more sinister or more calculative, more plotting in the way that I do things. And so it'll be interesting to see how I feel playing one of those, pretty, what's a word for it? It's not noble. That's not quite the right word, but it's something along those lines. The Zandalari Trolls. They just seem like they've really kind of got their act together. They know who they are, and they're proud, I guess, is something sort of close. Oh, somebody already killed Galleon. So that's in my plans, is to race change to one of those. So let me know what your thoughts are if you're planning to race change, or if you're sticking with the race you have now. What's so special about that race to you? And have you been it for very long? Not everybody just plays one character like I do, but I think the people that do, and no offense to people that like to play a lot of alts, but I think that people that play just one character, they connect more deeply with that character than people that play a variety of them. I think that's relatively obvious, but it's something that I've actually gotten a lot of enjoyment out of. So that's just a quick update and a technical check with the difference in lighting. Look how awful Pandaria looks. Look how bright it is on the ground. Let's fix that. Come here, Pandaria. Oh, yeah. That's better. That's actually nighttime. So if you can see this clearly, if this is something that you can actually tell what's going on, then I'll know that I adjusted the lighting enough. Because this is pretty good and dark. I would expect you to be able to see the steps right here to tell it's lighter in there, and to see the the details on my Bilbo Baggins transmog, to see the buttons and the wrinkles in the vest a little bit when it's close, things like that. So anyway, I've rambled on long enough about this. Let me know how it looks now, and I'll make further adjustments if necessary, and we will see what happens next time. Okay, thanks, bye.